Hello and welcome to another episode of the Triumphant Life podcast. I am your host, Nicholas Trevelyan, and welcome to this episode. I'm beyond thrilled to give this to you guys because our guest today, Terrence Burner, is a dear friend of mine. He's in my inner circle. Terrence has flipped over 500 houses. He's built multiple seven-figure businesses, but Terrence and I right now are in the middle of the 75 Hard Challenge. Andy Frisella's, the MF CEO's 75 Hard Challenge, and we're halfway through. And so what we did was we put on the microphones today and just did an episode talking about success, commitment, how to break through in certain areas of your life, whether that's your fitness, growing your business, your income. We talk about disciplines, lessons we've learned, and really how you can break through in those areas, those goals that you have. I know right now something sparked you to click on this link and get here to listen to this podcast. There's some part of your life, your business, your health that you want to do more, be more, and have more in. And I really think in today's episode, we deliver you some real life strategies that aren't just in theory. They're strategies that we are doing on a daily basis. Like I said, we are halfway through our 75 Hard Challenge right now. And we're going to tell you all about it, all the things that we learned. So I hope you guys enjoy today's episode. Mr. Terrence Burner, we are officially live with this podcast episode to talk about life, success, discipline, making money, getting healthy. You down?
I'm down, man.
Guys, this is good.
Trying to do my part.
Oh, you're already doing your part. And that's why we wanted you on the podcast. And you and I wanted to do this. So to everybody listening right now, no matter where you're listening to us, in the car, you got us on a walk, you're on the treadmill, you got this in the background. Really what we're trying to accomplish today and deliver you some value into the world of really success and how to break through. You know, Terrence, you'd be shocked how many questions I get on a daily basis, whether that's via text or via, my DMs. Nick, hey, I hear what you're saying. I love that, but how do you break through? Or I have a goal to start a new business or grow my income. But how? Like theory, we all want to, right? And I get this a lot. I don't know if you've ever got this is when I tried that fitness routine and like a week in or 2 weeks in, life hit me and I got derailed. And that's what I'm super excited for us to unpack for our listeners today. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think when people ask those questions, they're asking themselves the wrong question, which is why they quit. They go into it the wrong way, which is why I know we're going to talk about 75 Hard and all that, which is why I had started and stopped and quit this very thing that you and I are doing together 4 or 5 times before I got to day 40 or 41. Technically, today's 41.
I think that's so huge. And guys out there in Triumphant Life Nation, that's what really inspired this podcast was Terrence and I are in the middle of 75 Hard. You may have heard of it, but if you haven't, let me just explain it. It's 75 days and it's hard. It's 2 workouts a day, one of which has to be outside and both have to be 45 minutes. Terrence, what else is on the 75 Hard program?
You got to drink a gallon of water, which is very difficult to do in the beginning. But once you get your strategy down, you realize like it's not that much. But then you've got to read 10 pages from a physical book, follow a diet, and then, no cheat meals, no alcohol, anything like that. And then every day you take a progress picture and every you upload it.
Yep. And so that's the 75 Hard. There's no days off. There's, even if it's raining, if it's cold, if it's too hot, if it's Sunday and you want to go watch football.
1 a.m. We've had a few of those, right? 12.
Yeah, we've had to get after it, whether you had a 15-hour day at the office. I know I had that and came home at 11 o'clock at night and had to get a workout in. So guys, that's the program that Terrence and I are in the middle of. And Terrence and I are doing this together as, really as a team, as accountability partners. And we got to talking about our experience. So we're halfway through. We just finished day 40 really for the two of us. And we wanted to hop on and just add some value to your life about really our lessons learned in success, in fitness. And so just so you're aware, if you're listening right now, this episode is not about me and Terrence. This episode is about you, really. And we're going to share our stories, but we're going to share with you stories of how we're breaking through in these areas and really are things that we learned in the 75 Hard progress and being halfway there. So Terrence, let me ask you this. Obviously, this was a huge commitment, right? On day one, 75 days, 2 workouts a day. That's 150 workouts in 75 days. So far at day 40, what do you think the number one thing you learned about yourself has been?
That I can do things even when it's inconvenient to do them. That placing urgency around things, because sometimes you have things that you need to do and you put off doing them. several times I have procrastinated my workout, and I live in Arizona. And so I'm out there running hills because one of these workouts has to be during the day, and I'm out there running it. It's 107 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's something to say, oh, well, it's supposed to be tough. And sometimes people, when they do tough things, they wear it like a badge of honor, like, hey, I did this and it was hard, which is fine, which is great. But it's okay to make it easier on ourselves too. And so what I've learned is like those moments where, yes, I've had to push through and do hard things and prioritize them and make them happen. It also is I was running, realizing like, hey, you dummy, this is harder today because you didn't get up and do this at 6:30 in the morning when it was 85 degrees. And so I look at that and I carry that into business and in my personal relationships. And I look at what areas have I pushed my urgent things off, and they've been harder to complete because I didn't do them when I said I was going to do them. You know, I still got them done, but it was 10 times harder to execute on the same things that if I would have just done them when I know I needed to do them, it would have been easier. It still would have been hard. I still would have been wearing my 35-pound vest, running hills, about ready to die, but it wouldn't have been 107 degrees and just sweating to a whole nother level, right? And so that's been a huge thing for me, is realizing like, one, I can make commitments and prioritize them, and urgency around them is important. But two, doing things when I know they need to be done so that they don't have to be harder.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I had that experience happen to me yesterday in business. Is like, you're talking about workouts, right? We all know we need to work out, but you're talking about putting a system in place, making it easy. If you know that you need to work out every day, right? Logically, I say this all the time. Conceptually, you know how to get fit and lose weight. If we were to grab a grocery cart and go to the grocery store, conceptually, let's say everybody listening right now, we all showed up to the local grocery store. Everybody got a cart. And I said, great. Everybody put healthy food in the cart. Conceptually, you know exactly what, when I do this from stage, shout it out. Everybody will say, well, yeah, fruit and produce and, lean meats and fish and nuts, right? Okay, does cake count? No. Nachos? No. Sugary cereal, processed food, chips, soda pop. You're not going to put that in. So conceptually, we know how to get fit and eat healthy, right? We know tie your shoes, go on a run. Making money. You need to do more video, more marketing, more social media. You know this, right? So conceptually, it's not hard to figure out, but actually getting up and setting the alarm. So I'm so glad you said that, is making your life a little bit easier. Well, I just fell down on that in business. We had a marketing funnel we were working on, and it's been on my list of to-dos for like 3 weeks. And what happens is when you put it off and miss it, it got harder and harder and harder for me in my mind because I hadn't taken the time to do it. And I was saying, man, I'm way too busy for this. And what was so funny is real life yesterday, I was like, I have to get this done today. The project actually took me 30 minutes. And in my mind, I thought it was a whole day project. We finished with 30 minutes. I get the funnel online, and then it worked within 10 minutes. And I was like, well, damn, I wish I would have done this 2 weeks ago. It wouldn't have been so hard, right? And I'm so glad you brought that up. I think we put off till tomorrow. We put off till Monday, next month, next year, that which we could do today.
Yeah, one of my mentors said to me once around urgency, he's like, everybody always wants to do it later. They're in this later mentality. They're setting goals later. And I realized, like, okay, I actually fall into that. Sometimes you want to convince yourself that you're tougher, that you're a machine, that you're somebody else. It's a whole different story to be real and raw with yourself and realize, like, no, that actually applies to me. Like, I'm a human being that puts things off too. And one thing he says, when somebody says, I'm going to do it tomorrow, let's get together tomorrow. He came back. He's like, I could be dead tomorrow. He's like, you don't know. Like, you get things done, do them, and he carried into like, take the trips with your family, make the special moments. He's like, but also in business is like when people say, hey, let's get together and have that meeting next week, or let's do that thing. He kind of hit me back. He's like, dude, we're not going to do that next week. I could be dead next week. And
I love that.
It's one of those things he hit me with that just threw me way off kilter. I'm like, we're really not going to be dead. But his point was, like, delaying something we know we need to do, no benefit ever comes from it. And doing 75 hard has just reinforced that to me all the time in different areas that I can identify. And I'm like, oh, delayed that. Look at what happened because I delayed that. And so it's really helped hone me in. So when I'm making my lists of things I need to do every day, I'm looking and saying, okay, is this really a today task? If it is, I need to make sure it gets done today.
I'm glad you said that. And so what that reminds me of is the way that we started 75 Hard together, is knowing that we both wanted to get fit, knowing that we wanted to read more, grow more, get more disciplined. I personally wanted to take my fitness to the next level. And in my mind, so let me set the stage for everybody listening. It's a Friday night at 7:00 at night. I'm legit winding down from the week, laying on the couch watching, basketball or Sports Center or something like that. And Terrence and I are texting each other. And again, I knew that I wanted to take my fitness to the next level. So in that moment, what do you logically think? Well, let's start it, let's start it on Monday. Let me take the weekend. Yeah, let me start it on Monday, or let me start it next month, or let me go get a new pair of Nikes. Yeah, let me have one last nice little brewery session. Let me go drink a bunch of beers this weekend and be super lazy, go to McDonald's and let me rage on this. Or, I know a lot of people get caught up in this, and maybe those listening do too, is, well, I can't go, I got to have the perfect gym. Well, then I have to have the perfect Nikes, the perfect Lululemons. And then, I need a new gym bag. Well, crap, now I got to study keto and paleo. I got to meal prep. Terrence, I can't start this fitness program. And what me and Terrence did in that moment was we were talking about going back and forth on 75 Hard. And Terrence had mentioned he had tried it a few times in the past and failed on those trials, right? Yeah, I mean, they were just learning lessons at that point. It was just a failed experiment. And out of nowhere, I literally texted him. I said, let's do it. And let's start tomorrow morning on a Saturday. And the minute I sent that text, I literally said out loud, shit, I'm stuck for 75 days on this right now. But I'm so glad you brought that up of, we might not get next week. We literally at 7:00 on a Friday night decided to start this program. And Saturday morning by 8 a.m., we both had our first workouts out of the way.
Yeah, so it's crazy though. So I don't think we've ever talked about this, but on my end, it's trippy for me because every single Friday marks a week. And it's been this thing that has kind of kicked that message back to me every single week, because naturally I roll in the weekend, spend some time with the family, want to, go to the lake, you do weekend stuff, right? But every single Friday, it's reinforced the fact that no. Saturday morning, when you used to sleep in, you're getting up and you've got to go get your first workout in. Because if I found if I don't get on it in the morning, it makes it so much harder through the rest of the day. I've got to get up. I've got to start drinking water. I've got to get my first workout in. But every single Friday, I think about that first night when we decided to do this. And it like kicks that all over for me. I'm like, man, he texted me on a Friday, because I was like this close to texting you back. I mean, my inner little child, I call it the bitch voice, was like,
your little bitch. Yeah, it's okay.
I was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. But it was you. And I was like, okay, wait a second. You've tried this 4 times. So obviously somewhere in here, you want to do this. Mm-hmm. And here's your chance to not do it alone. And what I didn't realize I was doing at the time is when it came to doing day 2, which I'd never gotten all the way through day 2 before. When it came going through day 2, it wasn't about me. It was the fact that I knew I'd committed to you. And so I completed it for you and myself at the same time, right? And so that was the power of creating almost a contract, is what we did with each other, right? And so I think many times for me, I'm like, it's gotten me to go run those hills and do that second workout, or finish that second workout at midnight, when otherwise I would have straight up, I wouldn't have done it. But
it opens up, you're opening up such a box right now. And I really hope those listening are picking up like where this is really going, and the nuggets that you're just sharing. Terrence, I'm an extremely disciplined person, but even I, as disciplined as I am, even you as disciplined as you are, we still need accountability partners. We still need people in the trenches with us. We still need coaches. I really believe in having that tribe around you. They say if you want to get stronger, go to the gym and work out with somebody that is stronger than you, because what's going to happen is that's going to push you. If you want to learn more about business, go get around people that are doing stuff at a higher level than you, and that's going to pull you through. And I've really found that is the minute I sent you the text and said, I'm committed to 75 hard, 150 workouts in 75 days, that very next morning to get the first workout. And again, I work out pretty heavily. I had just ran my own marathon prior to 75 hard. I'm pretty fit for the most part, but I felt deep down inside there was another level that I hadn't touched yet. And I knew that I was going to need a accountability partner in the process to get me out of bed on those mornings when I was sore, on those days when I didn't want to push through, or I wouldn't have got that second workout in. I can show you over our 40 days, so that's 80 workouts in 40 days, I can probably show you 15 to 20 workouts that I could have justifiably not done and felt great about it. And somebody would have it would have made sense. Where I got up, I had a hell of a workout in the morning. I drank all my water. I worked 12 hours. It's 9:00 at night. I just coached literally 100 people. I just gave a speech. I'm exhausted. I'm beat up. You could yes, go get a freaking hamburger, get yourself a beer, order a pizza, go home, Nick, watch the football game. That's what, I would have felt good about that, but that wasn't the level that I was trying to play at. I had committed to something differently. So instead, we came home and we went and gassed those runs. And I'll tell you, I found that in those moments when things get tough, you find out who you really are. And really one of the things that I've learned to that question I originally asked you is, I'm finding in this process, we are so much stronger than we think and capable of so much more. The human body and the human mind can do more. And I think that if you can tap down in deep inside and play this game of not what else is going, not what everybody else is doing, not what you see on the gram, the highlight reel, what is your honest, true potential? And I found that by making commitments like that and pushing through when things are hard, standing at the end of a 45-minute workout when you didn't want to do it and it's late at night or whatever that push through was, call it in business, how victorious do you feel? Not about anything else other than yourself and your ability to get through and on those commitments and keep those promises to yourself, man. So that's really stood out to me substantially so far.
Yeah, big time. Well, and I can't, there's no way to prove what I'm about to say, but there is proof. And when I say it, it'll make sense. There's nothing, when I'm doing these workouts, it's funny because I'll listen to these YouTube videos and things, and words are so powerful. In one of these videos, it's look, after you've spent all your money, after you basically at the point where you've done everything that you think you can do, that's when, a lion's just getting started, right? And some of these things say that on these YouTube videos. And I've almost tricked my mind into believing hey, these audacious goals that you have, they don't happen unless you get your ass up that hill another time. My son has joined in. He came and ran with me the other night doing these hills. And it's cool. It's cool.
That's freaking awesome, dude. That's cool.
Realize who's watching. I got ready to go and he was on the couch. He's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "Well, I've got to go get my second workout in." I have my pack with my weight vest and everything on. And he's like, "Well, I'm going to go." I'm like, why would you, in my mind, I was like, why would you want to go do what I'm about to go do? Right? It didn't make sense to me at all. But he wanted to go do it. And it was crazy. It's crazy the people you don't realize that are watching you push through these things, and to do these things. And by no means am I doing this because I thought that he was watching, right? But it was interesting, getting a chance to go out and do that with him. And so I've almost tricked myself into believing hey, anyways, my point with this whole story is him and I were running back and forth, and he's counting how many times he's going back and forth up these hills. I don't ever count. And he kept asking me, I could tell he was in a competition. He was kicking my trash, right? I got a 40-pound weight vest on, and he's a little 13-year-old kid that could probably run 87 miles straight right now, right? But he was counting, and he kept asking me, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't keep track. And finally it hit him. He asked me, well, why is it you don't keep track? And I stopped and I thought, and I didn't know the answer at first. And then when I thought about it, I realized it's a principle that I picked up in my life that I didn't even realize I was applying because it's so automated for me. And that is, I was only worried about the next set. I knew I had to run for 45 minutes, but I wasn't caught up that I was going to have to do it 35 times back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that would equal my 45 minutes. Well, he had counted all that, right? And I realized that's a skill that I've developed through my mentors where if I've got this big goal, I'm not even worried about it. I'm worried about the task at hand, what I'm in the middle of. And so the only thing I was focused on was, am I going to get back up it? And then am I going to get back down it? And then when I'm down it, I'm like, okay, I got to get back up it. And that's as far as I went about thinking about it. And so one thing that I didn't realize I'd learned in 75 Hard is that I have built that in my life where I don't get overwhelmed by the 1,000 things I have to do. And so for people listening, you got these crazy things that you want to do. Everybody does. And if you're listening to this podcast, you for sure have some crazy goal or something you want to make happen in your life, or these podcasts would be the most boring thing in the world to you, right? So I know that about you. Don't get overwhelmed with 100 things that you've got to do. Just focus on getting up the hill one more time. And then when you come back down, focus on getting back up it one more time. It makes it so manageable because at the end, you're wiped out, you're sweating. The 35-pound pack I was wearing felt like 80 pounds at the end of it. But I had managed to do it 45 minutes. And I realized that's a skill that I built. It's not something God-given. You didn't have to be born with this gift to do that. Just focus on what your next steps are and forget about everything else. And then when you do those next steps, you take that next bite, then look at the next bite that you've got to take. And it becomes manageable. You'll see your stress will come down. Your overwhelm will come down. It'll still be there. So you're still going to have to respond and take action in spite of maybe still feeling overwhelmed or stressed out or wondering how you're going to do it. But it's a whole lot less when you're looking at one thing versus 100, right? And that's one thing running with my son, him just asking me that one question. I had no idea I was even doing it. And I wasn't always that way, right? I was the guy that I used to look at the 100 things and it'd paralyze me. I'd just get overwhelmed. How am I supposed to do all this before I'd even hired my first employee? Looking at everything like, how am I going to do everything? And you end up doing nothing. But as he asked me that one question, I realized I'm not keeping track because I'm not worried about how many times I got to get up the thing. I'm just worried about the next time I got to get up that thing.
Dude, I love what you're saying, man. I think you're really sharing your heart. And I'm so proud of you for doing that. The thing that really stands out to me is the concept of you don't know who's watching. And so your son was inspired to do that with you. A lot of people that take my Triumphant Life challenges, their kids will go work out with them and see mom or dad out crushing and stepping up. And the example that sets, we have a lot of entrepreneurs on here for both of us, right? You help them invest in cash flow properties. I coach them, help entrepreneurs break through. Is you don't know how many of your employees are watching you. Your salespeople are watching you. And what was interesting is when we first started 75 Hard, I was posting on my Instagram story and Facebook story every single morning, every single night, and then checking in. So I was posting 3 times a day about every workout. And I did this for the first 21 days. What happened is within the first 7 days and then the 14 days, we had 4 or 5 people join the 75 Hard Challenge once they saw that we were doing it, once we got to week 2, because it gave them permission to pull that lioness out of them. I also had somebody go to me, he goes, Nick, you've inspired me. I'm not going to do twice a day, but I'm going to do once a day. How freaking cool was that, man? We don't know who's watching. But every single morning, the thing that I'm starting to find with the 75 Hard Challenge, the one person that's watching every minute of your 75 Hard Challenge, of your life, of your journey, the one person that's watching is you. Yeah. The person in the mirror. And I'm starting to get really clear on that, is this conversation of the whole game, Terrence, in getting rich and happy or whatever, getting skinny. It's you and your ability to tie your shoes and follow through on promises that you've made to yourself. Follow through on commitments that you've made to yourself. The reason I say this is I found that when you make internal commitments, with them not being public, they're easy to break because there's nobody there to hold you accountable. There's no police officer that's going to show up. If you go have nachos at lunch instead of a salad, you're not going to leave the restaurant and 25 pounds is wrapped around your belly. There's not this immediate, hit or smack in the face. And I'm finding that we, in the 75 Hard journey, and I'm so truly grateful for Andy Frisella for rolling this out, that MFCEO, baby, is it's helping me keep promises to myself. And I get we're only on day 40, but that's 80 workouts commitments made. That's 40 days of 7 different commitments made per day. And I'm actually looking at other parts of my life and keeping my commitments with myself in other areas too, with my gratitude, with my business, with my marketing, with my time with my family. And those are some things that have really, really stood out to me, man.
Well, let me ask you this, because it's interesting, and I know right? Our language is very important. The words we use are very important, but it's interesting to hear how you talk about it. You can obviously hear, and the listeners can hear the level of commitment you have towards this, right? As 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 it's gone on and you've done more days, have you felt that level of commitment continue to increase?
On probably an hour by hour basis. I'm starting to redefine what my definition of success looks like for myself, what my fitness level looks like. Like once we got into this, I ran a marathon in May by myself. It was during COVID, depending on when you're listening to us, there was no marathons available. I wanted to run a marathon. I put it on the target. I said, I'm going to run a marathon in less than 100 days. And I just went and ran 26.2 miles on a Saturday by myself. We called it Nicky T's set goals, smash goals, clap for your own damn self, one man marathon. And I wanted to put myself through that power of, could I commit mentally to run through 26 miles on a day with nobody around, no ticker tape parade, nobody clapping. But more importantly though, Terrence, nobody to be there to see if I cut corners, finished at 20 miles and not 26. And so now that we're in the middle of this 75 hard, I'm looking at so many other like levels in my life and where my standards are at and what I'm capable of. It's almost like a staircase, right? Like you hike the first level or the first floor. Once you get up, you realize that there's more stairs above you. You didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that you could open up that level of fitness until you've hit 2 45-minute workouts in a day and you're like, well, shit, I could still keep going. And there's been some workouts where I'm like, 45 minutes, I'm just going to gas another 30 minutes because I'm at this right now. Or like there was some, I was up to a 5-mile run and I'm like, nah, dude, I'm going to go to 6. And it's making me want to push forward in not just my health and fitness, but my heart, my love center, my spirit with my family. Like, can I do a better job and more time with my family? Can I be more present there, or more I love yous and more hugs and kisses? With my marketing, I'm like, well, dude, how much more could you do if you followed the same guidelines of holding yourself to a higher standard? And really what I found with all of this, the beauty of the program, the way Andy set it up with the 75 hard is you really put a commitment and put the target in place and then just find a system to get there and commit to it. And if you apply that concept to any area of your life and you cut off all options and go 100% commitment, make it public, it's beautiful to think like what you can do. And so that's why when we started this episode, it's like, this isn't about us. The listeners right now can take this and really apply this to any area of your life, which I think is so freaking cool, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And for those of you guys that are listening, it's so easy. I remember at different stages of my life, I had a mentor tell me, he's like, you want bigger results, make bigger commitments. My commitment level is different at day 40 than it was at day 1. Why? I've got 80 workouts behind me. The thought of not finishing and quitting and having to start all over is almost a driving force for me at this point that just keeps me running the play and doing what I got to do every day, right? My rituals are almost so automated that there's no way I'm going to bed without doing it. And so if you're, as you're listening to this, you've got these bigger goals that you want, I would ask you, just be real with yourself about where your commitment level is to those things, because it's a whole lot harder to quit on something when you've got 80 workouts in. It's a whole lot harder to quit on a business when you've got $1 million on the line, when you've got $100K on the line, when you've got, so for some of you, it would mean maybe putting $1,000 on the line, right? It's easy to quit on things where there's so very little invested. And what kind of return can you expect from something where you put in a very little of an investment, And so you want to increase your return on whatever it is you're trying to get to. I would have you just look at and be real with yourself about what kind of commitment have you put towards that thing, Not just saying, by the way, commitment is, well, I'm going to do it. That's the weakest form of commitment is verbal. It's the first place to start, but all that matters after the verbal is the action that's taken, right? So,
dude, you're so spot on. So, check this out. I don't know if you even know this. So, when somebody signs up for our really Triumphant Entrepreneur 30-day challenge program, okay? So, we walk entrepreneurs, really solopreneurs that are out there, one man and one woman CEOs that are trying to scale their business. We walk them through this 30-day course that's absolutely intense, and it includes their body, their mind, their spirit, and their business and their marketing. It literally on day 1, they get a contract. They literally download a contract and sign it. and have to give that to somebody that they love and care about most. And they have to sit this person down and say, hey, I'm going to commit to this for 30 days and here's why. So if you sit down with your spouse and say, hey, here's what I'm going to do in my business for the 30 days or my fitness, and you hand them this contract, there's so much power in just that little moment. There was power in me texting you. It wasn't a contract. And I said, Terrence, I'm in. Because when you give somebody else that you care about and you respect and you love, when you give somebody else your word, I think that can pull you through in so many different areas. And so a couple things that really have stood out to me so far in 40 days is the power of commitments and the power of accountability. Is reaching out to somebody that you love and saying, hey, as you know, I've been struggling with my fitness in the past. I just committed to 14 days. I just committed to 30 days. I just committed to 75 days. And I would love your support. What I found is when I asked for support from people that I love and care about, I made it public. So now it's verbalized and it's out there. And two, I've been getting texts from you as my accountability partner and other people that aren't in the program rooting me on saying, Nick, I believe in you. Keep pushing. We're proud of you. And I found that those things, when it's 6 o'clock in the morning and the alarm goes off, having that in my mind has gotten me out of bed and got me up and going on multiple occasions, man.
Yeah, it's got my competitive juices going too. Because there's been days like yesterday, like I text our group. By the way, there's only 3 of us that are still doing it, right? So
still standing.
Interesting, a lot of people have fallen off the wagon, and it's not easy, but. I knew like I had just downed the last of my water at 4:45. And the first trigger was damn straight. Like this was 75 easy today. And not because it was actually easy, right? But because I freaking owned it. And the competitive side of me, because there's been days where you finished super early and you hit the group and it triggers me. And I'm like, oh man, he's freaking kicking my butt today, right?
I think that's the conversation of trying to play this battle with yourself, right? So working out, the average human being, this is crazy. So the average human in our world right now exercises on average for 2 hours per week. These are stats that multiple colleges and studies have done. So the average person exercises 2 hours per week. That's crazy to think about. We're doing 10 and a half hours per week, part of the course. And I know you and I know me, I probably have an extra couple hours here and there where I'll walk my dog and I don't count that as a workout, or like I'll casually ride my beach cruiser. I don't count that as a workout. So there's probably for us, maybe 12, 13, 14 hours of exercise. And so I started playing this internal battle of, okay, so if I work out in the morning, then work out at night, that's awesome. Then I was like, well, you've done that. What if we took that to the next step? Could you work out in the morning really early? And then could you work out like an hour or two later and show yourself how much more you're capable of? And I'll tell you, man, the morning that I did this, I had 2 workouts done by 9:30 a.m. And then I came home, I showered up, and I went to the office. Really think about this. I got up at sunrise. I went on a run, came home, had a big breakfast. I read a little bit. I planned my day. Then I went to the gym and I smashed like a big, chest workout and get curls for the girls or whatever. I come home, I put on a suit, I go to the office. How many victories have I had by the time I walked in at 10 a.m.? When my staff comes in for our 11 a.m. staff meeting, how do you think they looked at me? When I went to lunch that day, do you think I ate healthier or wanted the junk? No, I wanted fuel, man. I was a wreck, right? But I built this confidence into myself. But what it did was it showed me that there is a new level for where I wanted to go. For those listening, there is another level for you that you can tap into no matter what you are doing, what you're working on, what your heart, your soul, your passions, and these goals are, no matter where you're at. Let's say you hit a 10 grand month. I remember when I was 19, 20, I hit my first 10 grand month. I was like, crap, can I do 20? Then you do 20. Then you hit 30. Then you hit 50. Then it was can you make 100 grand a year? Then it was, well, I've done that. Can I do 250? And then it was like, can I do 100 grand a month? And then you do that. You're like, well, crap, now that I've done 100 grand in 1 month, could I do 200? And then when I did that, I was like, well, crap, that was really cool. 200 grand in 1 month when, 10 years ago, like a 200 grand a year, I would have been flipping out about. You're learning that there's new levels for your own internal capability and potential.
Yeah, totally. I think that's important. Getting around the right people, though, is equally as important to all of that, because as you have these goals and you've got this desire to stretch yourself, you've got to be around people that are showing you some version of that, you know. And so what I've always taken to heart from my first mentor is you've got to find a room where you're one of the smallest people at any given time, you know. And so I've always looked for mentors. I've always you're paying for speed when you work with mentors. That's why I love so much what you guys do with the Triumphant Agent University, the Triumphant CEO, all that stuff. Is it's about getting connected to people, one, that will feed you the right energy, positivity, and then two, can create I don't know, mappable is a word. You got to forgive me. I grew up on a farm, just a simple guy here, but where you can map out a strategy that takes you from where you are to where you want to be because somebody has been through that road. And so, I'm the same way. Like I remember one time we had to short sell our house when I got started in business in 2007, maybe it was 2008, because I couldn't make $4,000 a month. Mm-hmm. And I realized it was all a mentality thing. And my wife and I, at the time, it's like, we would have thought $4,000 a month would have been $4 million. You might as well told me to go make $4 million, right? That's how big of a crazy thing it is. Because I realized I was giving myself advice. That's sometimes the worst thing we can do is give ourselves advice. I try not to do that a lot. I try and look if I want to systematize or start or tighten up my business. I'm looking to others that have done it that run a smoother business. I'm not always looking like, okay, well, how can I create a cooler looking wheel? I'm like, no. Here's a square right now. Let's go to somebody who's got a nice round one. And because I can go from where I'm at to getting it smoothed out, in an instant. You probably can't see me, but I snap my fingers for those of you on the mics, and so
snappy.
Getting around people that can help create that speed. And that's what's like tying it back to 75 hard. I tried this 4 or 5 times on my own and my commitment fell through. And so bringing somebody in and increasing the amount of commitment created speed for me. How did it do that? Because I'm at day 40, literally 40 days later, when for 3 weeks, 21 days, I had never gotten past to day 2 many, many, many times. But when I went to somebody that helped me create a different level of commitment, 40 days later, I never even imagined that I would make it this far when I decided to do it on my own. And then about 2 or 3 days in, I couldn't imagine not finishing. I'd burned the ship, so to speak. I was Absolutely. Like, there is no way I'm going to have to pick my phone up and text Nicky T, my boy Nicky T, and say, I failed. I was sold out that I would die before that happened. If I got in a car wreck, I would be freaking doing push-ups in the hospital bed to do it because it had created all of that internally in me.
Well, I think you're really unpacking such a beautiful subject for anybody listening in any area of your life. Anthony Robbins has a quote that I really just live by. And he says, to achieve any level of success that you want and are seeking, just find somebody who's already done it and really model what they did. And I started looking at that in everything that I do. For example, I'm not a chef, brother. I didn't go train in culinary school. I can try to cook some eggs and a steak here, but if I throw a steak on the grill and I go down to a high-end steakhouse, tell me that ribeye is 1,000 times better than mine.
Oh, the red-bearded omelet slayer. I think.
Nah, but the same is true with a mechanic, with marketers, with Facebook ads, with fitness, right? Like you can spend countless hours. I call it the entrepreneur black hole. Countless hours on YouTube studying how to build a funnel or how to copyright or how to eat healthier versus just hiring the trainer that literally is like, hey, do this, this, and this. It saves you not only months and months and months of time, it force feeds you those results so you get where you want to go faster. A guy asked me this question this morning, and it's really been intriguing for me, and it's going to shape this conversation and this podcast. And I'm just honored you get to hear it and people are listening to it. He shot me a DM on Instagram, and he wasn't a follower of mine, so it was like in the hidden messages. But I saw it, and usually it's all spam, like, hey, grow your followers and stuff like that. And I read it, and he said, "Hey Nick, I found you online on Instagram." I had a post about the art of self-reinvention, and I had told some stories about 75 Hard, but really this fact that who I was really 6 months ago, 12 months ago, I don't recognize that person. Do you ever have Facebook tells you on this day 4 years ago, and you'll see a blast from the past? Yeah. A photo had popped up of me from 4 years ago, and I'm 60 pounds heavier. I lived in a different state. I'm looking at this person. I was in a different business. I was running my real estate company, and I'm looking at this human being on the other end, and I'm like, I don't even recognize that guy of where I'm at today. And I started thinking about this art of self-reinvention. And he asked this question, and he said, Nick, I love that post. How did you reinvent yourself? And I took about 10 minutes over a cup of coffee this morning to write him back. I sat and thought before I just fired back. And the very first answer was this. I said, one, I haven't reinvented myself yet. This is an ongoing process on a daily basis. And who I am today is different than I was 40 days ago prior to starting 75 Hard. The thing that I have found is this is a lifelong beautiful journey, right? Of you versus you in your whole world. And I think the person that I'm going to be in 35 days when we finish 75 Hard is different and will be different in 6 months. That's the beautiful art of self-reinvention. I said that to him. And then I finished with this. I said, the beauty is who you were last night, this morning, listening right now, the place that you live, what you're wearing, what you're doing for a living, how you look, how you feel, what you eat, what you listen to, all the above. You can literally change in an instant by making a decision for change. When Friday night, when we were debating doing the 75 Hard or not, one text message is the difference of where we're at right now. It is in our moments of decision that our destiny is shaped. That's an Anthony Robbins quote. That's not mine. It is in our moments of decision that our destiny is shaped. And here's what I told him. I said, if you decide to go become a 7-figure earner, if you decide to build that type of an info marketing business or get fit or move to a new city or ask that girl out, I said, here's what happens. Because he was worried about, how do I become this person? I said, you don't have to become this person. What you have to do is make a decision of that's the person that you want to be. And let me explain what I mean here is, to go build $1 million business, you don't just make a decision and you automatically are a 7-figure earner. What you do is on a daily basis, you start practicing things to become that person. You're not ready to become that person. To go build a 6-pack or lose 50 pounds or reinvent your health and your fitness, you're not that person yet. You're not going to lift those weights yet. Or to run a marathon, you're not a marathon runner yet. But could you go run half a mile today and start emulating the activities of what that person would do? So how do you reinvent yourself? You make a decision of really ultimately where you want to go, who you want to be. I call it your beautiful destination. You make a decision, and then you just on a daily basis start trying to be that person. When you were a baby, you knew that you wanted to walk like mom and dad. You're going to try on your own to get up and fall over. You're going to try to formulate words. The crazy thing is, this art of self-reinvention has been ingrained to us as our DNA as human beings of learning something new and growing. And I hear this all the time, T, is, well, Nick, I want to build my business, but I don't know how. You're not supposed to know how yet. Nick, I want to get fit, but I don't know how. What you have to do is just try to go on that first run. And what's going to happen is this beautiful future, this person that you ultimately want to be, is he or she is going to start pulling you towards them like a freaking magnet by just trying those things on a daily basis. Like, look at a kid trying to formulate words. Mama, dad, they're literally trying, like their speech patterns, they're learning how to talk by actually trying it on a daily basis. And then they can sit down at age 3 and have a full-blown conversation with you and, all the above.
I know all about that. Got a 3-year-old right now. But I love what you're saying, and that kind of ties back to something I said at the very beginning is, sometimes, again, I'm realizing as we're having this conversation, man, my first mentor, I got a lot of stuff buried in here from him. So I'm just kind of having a moment where I'm super, super grateful for him. But, he taught me, he's like, don't worry about the how, ask yourself why, and as you're saying that, I'm like, for me, it was 75 Hard. It was like, how am I going to fit all this into my schedule? And before I committed, I had that conversation. I'm like, well, why do you want to do this? Why would you even want to do 75 hard? And the only thing that came back is, one, I wanted to get more fit, but I'd already started working out and was eating mostly healthy. But for me, it's sugars, right? It's hard candies like Jolly Ranchers and stuff. And I felt like alcohol to an alcoholic. Jolly Ranchers were to TB here, and hard candies and sugar. And so I really felt like, man, I want to do it because I want to cut it completely out and prove to myself that I have control over this thing, that I've always been a sucker for candy, and so that tied my why. That's why I said yes. And so these things, how you want to change, this guy that said to you, like, well, how do I do this? How do I do this? Well, first figure out why you would even want to do it. Why would it even be important? Like, forget the fact that it's going to be hard. You're going to have to develop new habits. You're going to have to develop new skills. You're going to have to kill the old you, give birth to a new you. That's an ongoing thing for the rest of your life that's going to happen. Forget all that. But just ask yourself, well, why would I even want to do it? What would happen if I did it? Like, why would I want to do it? Well, it would mean, like for me, like getting into business, I knew the reason why I wanted to do it. I didn't want a boss. I didn't want to have to beg for vacation. I didn't want to, if I woke up sick, I didn't want to have to, ask somebody if it was okay if I didn't come in for the day, if my wife needed me when we were having our babies, if it was okay if I went to the hospital. All of those things were my why. And so the risk of taking on starting my own business then became a gimme. I was like, I'm willing to figure out whatever how, because those whys are pulling me, right? And so as you're thinking about all these things you want to make happen, I always fall back and ask myself and just have a totally raw conversation. I'm like, okay, I get you want these things, but why do you want them? What would it mean if you did this? And, for 75 hard, why did I want to do it? Well, I wanted to show that I could keep a different level of commitment in my life that I had shown up to that point, because I'm a hard ass worker. I mean, I people that know me know that about me. I mean, I grew up on a farm. I work my business like I'm freaking baling hay every day for a living. And I just happen to, work with houses and stuff. So my point with all of that is just step back and just ask yourself the one simple question, but why? But why? Why would I want to be that? Well, you're, asking how, who cares? The how, people think the how matters so much. And it does eventually, because you got to figure out how to get there. But if you figured out why it's important and you get there, the how is just going to be irrelevant, because you're going to figure it out no matter what. Because when it gets hard, you'll tie back to your why and you'll adjust your how. Because the very first how is not going to be the final how. You're going to have many hows, right? You're going to have to alter your path in so many ways. I don't know if you've ever seen that drawing, Nicky T, or if any of your listeners have. You see, yeah, exactly. They, the one line is, this is what people think about success, and it's one point and another point, and the line is straight. And people think
it's a straight line, right?
It's a straight line. And then the second line is it's a squiggly line, and it goes all over the place. And then it finally connects to the other dot. That's the reality of how, right? You're going to adjust your how so many times, because we're all so naive when we decide that we're going to do something. We think it's going to be totally different. The thing I've learned to do is to not be surprised now when it is different. When it's different, I just realized, like, I'm on the right track. It's supposed to change. It's not supposed to be how I thought it was going to be. Because when I made the decision to do this, I hadn't taken any action. So I was just back there thinking what it was going to look like. But now that I've actually done it, it's like when I started 75 hard, the thought never went in my brain that there was going to be several nights where I was going to finish at midnight. At freaking midnight. Right? Never crossed my mind. But when those days came and I realized my why was so important, the doing it at midnight was just the how that was going to get done no matter what.
What's so funny is what you're saying. I'm laughing over here because the day that I started this on day 1 and day 40, and it'll be different than we are on day 75, is my workout routines have changed from day 1 to day 40. My gym has changed because I realized I don't like that gym. I want little, this. I want to change this. My diet has changed. We've worked on better ways to support my health and my supplements. My meal prep is different. My morning routines are different. And it's funny how your path, the path that I thought was going to be this way. And now it's like, dude, I'm over here. Wow, that's crazy, right? And it's just on an ongoing basis, you're almost shooting at a moving target. And I think that's really cool, is as long as you're trying to aim and you're moving towards that overall end-all goal of who you are and really what success means to you, you'll find a way, or you'll make an excuse. If you want it enough, you'll find a way. If not, you'll justify that with some, little bitch voice and little excuse of why you can't have it.
Yeah, and then you just have to be real with yourself and said, I just didn't want what I'd said, what I'd verbalized that I wanted. Because when I have people, they'll tell me too, they're like, I'm doing everything I can. I've done this and I've done that and you won't believe this. And they start to tell me this story of everything they've done. And my response, because I got this response once and it's always stuck with me. And the response is, well, then you haven't done everything that's required to get what you want, because it's an irrefutable law. It's truth, right? There's Nicky T's truth. There's TB's truth, but then there's always the truth, which can be completely different than our truths, right? And this is one of those things. This irrefutable law says, if you want something and you've done everything that you needed to do to get it, then you would have it. Simple. But you can't tell yourself, oh, I've been doing everything I can for the last 20 years and I still don't have it. It just means I'm not supposed to have it. No. It just means you haven't done enough. And that hits me all the time because, I'm a human being. I'll sit back and I'll start to give myself reasons for why something hasn't happened. And it causes me to get those creative juices flowing again. Like COVID, I had to completely reposition my business. My business is like, if I could go back and start my business over again, I would use the model I'm doing now. Right? This model would make sure that I didn't have to take on the $2 million in debt out of the gate. That would have been freaking cool. Right? Been awesome. I'd have $2 million more in my pocket today with this model. So COVID was a huge blessing. Right? And so it causes you to ask the question all the time is, what more can I do? How can I come at this from a different angle when that why is pulling you? Otherwise, most people, they get to a point where they're just like, well, it just wasn't meant to be. You hear all these cliche sayings, it just wasn't meant to be. No. It could have still been meant to be. You just didn't adjust. Sometimes we don't adjust. We don't hit it from that other side. We don't do everything that it takes because the law says, do what's required. You get what comes at the end of that. But you can't ever say to yourself, "Oh, I did everything." Those words better never leave your mouth, because if you did everything, you would have that thing. Period.
You opened up one of the biggest things that I've learned so far in 40 days of my 75 hard journey. Like really, what I've learned about success, about myself, is understanding what limiting beliefs are and actually acknowledging them. And, coming from an inspirational guy, I'll tell you, man, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I was all just rah. I mean, it was an inspirational quote, and it was watch The Secret and meditate and vision and all positive, right? At the end of the day, we are all humans. You are going to get sore. You're going to get tired. That's just the reality of things. Life is going to hit you. You're going to have kids that got dentist appointments, and you're going to be sick. There's just no way around that. You're not going to walk around and there's just a rainbow coming out of your ass, and everywhere you go, doors open for you, like right out of a story, and like doves come and hang out on my shoulders. And so what I found in the 75 hard journey is acknowledging what's there and owning those limiting beliefs and self-talk. One of the favorite parts of one of my inspirational videos my favorite inspirational video says, we all have two wolves in us, a good wolf and a bad wolf, and they almost live on both shoulders. Mm-hmm. And what I have found is the more you recognize the good wolf and the bad wolf are in sync together, you have to feed the good wolf more, but you also have to understand and acknowledge that bad wolf and owning those limiting beliefs. And I teach people, and I've started to do this a lot more myself now, is just call them out. Like if something happens, I'm going to call out the potential roadblocks on the front end. I'm going to call out what could stop me and have a conversation with that. instead of trying to fake it like, oh, everything's great. No. Here's what's going to happen. Tonight, like last night, for example, I'm sore. I just deadlifted. I'm beat up. My neck's freaking jacked up. I'm tired. I said, okay, those are real limiting beliefs. Okay, well, Nick, let's do this then. To keep you on track, let's acknowledge that limiting belief. Let's bump your sleep schedule an hour more. Give yourself an hour of rest tomorrow because your body has to recoup and recover. And let's just shift your day an hour forward. Let's acknowledge that and let's find a solution to push through. I'll give you this example. This was so interesting. I was in an office setting and, somebody brought in donuts for the day. And I watched this gentleman that I really loved and cared about eat 2 donuts for the morning. And I love me some donuts, but he had 2 like big freaking, bear claws or whatever. And so we had the 2 Long Johns, and then we end up at lunch that day. And I'm having a salad, and I'm not saying I choose great all the time. Just in that moment, I was probably in a fitness mode, and it's all decisions and limiting beliefs. And so I'm having a salad, and he orders a bowl of pasta. Okay, and I'm like, that's cool, man. Freaking looks amazing. Added some sausage on top of it, and we're sitting there talking about his life and goals. And he's like, yeah, man, I really want to get fit, but I can't. I'm big boned. I'm a husky kid. There's nothing I can do about it. And I remember looking at him going, that's his honest self-limiting belief. And I have found personally, the more that you could take that and unpack that and just throw that on the table and look at it and say, you know what, I just said this. Is that real or is that not? And some are real and some aren't. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. If we took these limiting beliefs and just had a conversation about them of, hey, I'm not good on video. Okay, cool. Well, like that's real. You probably feel that way. You're nervous. Let's unpack that, throw that on the table and look at that and say, okay, cool. Well, like what could we do to make you better on video? Like, would that be better for your business? Or like, I'm not a marketer. Okay, well, that's the limiting belief, which is normal because you're going to say that. And let's just put this on the table. Let's have a real conversation and unpack this and find a way to work with this. And I found for me personally, when I have the bad wolf say bad things, Nick, you had a big sale, go get a whiskey, right? Have a beer. And I've even found too recently in 75 Hard, I've had external beings becoming my bad wolf. And let me explain. I'll post about my 75 Hard journey on social media. I've gotten more of these messages back. Hey bro, you should really slow down. You're going to hurt yourself. Huh? What? The fuck? I'm asking you. It's been crazy to hear that. I've had multiple people around me go, Nick, it'd be okay if you just had a beer. We're at the beach. Nobody would notice. Yeah, but I would notice. No, just have one with us real fast, dude. Like, dude, just have a freaking piece of pizza with us. Like, dude, you've crushed it. Yeah, you're halfway there. Just have a piece of pizza. Nobody will notice. I get that. And so I've had these other people. And so I've even brought this up to friends around me. Like if we're, at a social gathering like that, hey, just a heads up, I'd love your guys' support in this. And, hey, I'm not going to have any beers or anything. And I've even had some dear friends of mine buy me like racks of seltzer water. If we're doing like a barbecue or something, they'll buy me soda water and be like, hey, do you want like a koozie with it so you can have beers with all of us? And I'm like, oh, that was really cool, man. And so again, a possible scenario that could derail me, a bad wolf. You throw the wolf on the table and just look it in the eyes and go, homie, my good wolf's a lot stronger than you. My desire, like you shared my heart, my soul, my drive, and the reason why I'm doing this. So I'm going to call you out, make you look like a little baby wolf. You can sit on my shoulder still because you're part of me and that's cool. You can ride around. But my good wolf is freaking majestic and badass and really committed. And so we win today. Okay, bye.
Yeah, totally. Well, and when you're 4 or 5 days in, and then you get a week in, and then you get 2 weeks into something. It's just kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. You've got so much invested, not even physically, right? But there's so much that gets invested mentally to work towards goals that we put down, and so as people are listening to this, you just have got to expect, I want you to understand that what can go wrong will go wrong sometimes. And when that happens, you just got to look and say, I'm on track. This was supposed to happen. This was how it was going to be. And, when I've had to do those late workouts, I just said, look, when you made the commitment, you knew what you were going to have to get done in a day. So don't be surprised that you've got to do this second workout. You've known all day you've needed to do it, right?
And so success shows up in the form of overalls and hard work.
Oh, dude.
What a concept, right?
It's crazy, and I'm having this big thing right now where I'm seeing, so I don't know if Barrow's Pizza is everywhere, but we got this good place out here, Barrow's Pizza. And I'm starting to see it everywhere because I've already told myself the first thing I'm going to have for my cheat meal on day 76, we were talking about it, right, is pizza. My favorite place is Barrows.
Dude, I remember Barrows. They do the extra large pizza and 24 wings for $24.99. That was the Barrows special, right? Back in Arizona?
So good. So I come home last night, and my 3-year-old, my wife's got some food cut up on her plate. I didn't know what it was. I swing around to the counter. We've got a big island here. And she's got on this plate a big old fat piece of pizza. The thing that has been on my mind for the last 2 days more than anything. And I look at her, and because her and I had just had a conversation earlier that day because I was driving around in my truck. And during our conversation, I'd spotted like 3 Barrows restaurants. I'm like, babe, I'm seeing it everywhere. Like my mind is so focused on it. Your reticular activator, you realize like what you decide that you want, you start to, it's hokey sounding, but it starts to show up everywhere. Like my truck, I bought a truck last year. I thought nobody had this white AT4 tricked out truck. Oh, I bought it. Guess what? Everybody's got a white AT4. That's all I see everywhere. So it's the same thing with the pizza. And so I came home and bam, it was sitting right there on the counter. And there's no way I was going to eat it. But I was like, oh my gosh. So these things that you start to focus on, they start to pop up. You can create, you can create these challenges for yourself. You just got to realize like, that's just part of it. That's what's supposed to happen.
Well, I think what you're saying is you get what you're looking for.
Totally, you get what you're looking for.
I can show you 1,000 reasons why something won't work, but I can also show you 1,000 reasons why something will work. Which do you choose to focus on? So Terrence, this is a longer episode, and I really wanted to just keep us talking because I know there's somebody listening right now that's just stuck around this whole time. So if that's you, we are freaking kindred souls. Me and Terrence honor you for sticking around. Here's what I want to do. If you've stuck around an hour into this whole episode and you're still listening to me, I want you to go shoot me a message right now on Instagram. Go to @TheTriumphantLife, shoot me a message and say, yo, Nicky T, I'm an hour in. And let me know one thing you learned from this episode. If you're sticking around, you shoot me that message and let me know one thing you learned from this episode. I got a special gift for you. This is something you won't be able to find anywhere online. No part of my funnels. If you're sticking around and message me right now, that says that you are freaking absolutely committed to your goals and dreams. Go drop into my DMs. I'm going to give you a freaking private Nicky T exclusive training for sticking around. And really, Terrence, I knew we were just going to sit and talk. And that's what I really wanted out of today's episode is just to give some insights into 2 guys that have both built 7-figure businesses, that are both launching new 7-figure businesses, that are dedicated to our fitness, that are dedicated to our families, that are dedicated to success. And, this episode wasn't even about us, really. It was just us talking about success principles and strategies and things that we're doing in the trenches. And hopefully, everybody listening has really got some stuff out of that. And I hope as we were sharing our own stories, it sparked some thought of your own disciplines and your own commitments and your own drive and your own why. So, Terrence, I'd love to finish with this, man. In summary, what could you leave both of our listeners with? Like, if somebody listening right now, after the 75 hard journey, you've built multiple 7-figure businesses. I mean, you flipped damn near over 500 homes. You teach people to build wealth through cash flow and in real estate. You're at day 40 right now in your own journey. You tried it 4 times on your own before, and those past didn't work. You had 4 failed experiments, like Thomas Edison the light bulb, and now you're on your really working experiment. What would you share to everybody so we could just wrap this up and put a big beautiful bang and leave everybody with some Terrence Burner wisdom?
Man, so simple, right? Some of you might be looking for this big, long, drawn out, because some of the things I've talked about, I've gotten long-winded a little bit, but this is what I tell you. You got this. You got this. Whatever this is, you just got to say to yourself, I got this. I got this. I can promise you it is that single phrase has pushed me through more tough times than I can count. It's pushed me through so many challenges. Every single day, I'm looking at solving problems. The problems have just gotten bigger. They're worth more. But just tell yourself, you've got this. I've got this. You'll be all right. Really look at the circle that you're in. If you're finding yourself in a place where, the messaging of your circle doesn't align with what it is that you want, then you need to go create a new circle. It's cool. Like, I'm not saying you got to stop talking to everybody, but there's the dynamics of your relationships. It's okay if they change. They should change if you want to continue to grow. So just tell yourself, whatever it is you're doing, whatever you're feeling overwhelmed about, whatever that even means. And as I'm saying this, you already know. You've already thought of it. Okay. It's already come to your mind. And just tell yourself, I got this.
Dude, I love that, man. That's huge. The thing that I would leave everybody with is, I found in this 75 hard journey, and this is a text I sent to you in our inner circle a few days ago, is for me, it's not a 14-day challenge, a 30-day challenge, or a 75 hard challenge. To me, it's a lifetime. And so what I found in this process is do something every day in the areas of your life that matter to you. Work out a little bit every day. Work on your love center, your gratitude every day. Give your wife a big old kiss every day. Call your mom and dad and tell something for your family. FaceTime somebody randomly. Send somebody a voice message. Work on your brand every day. Work on your marketing every day. Work on your growth every day. Or really what I'm saying is the things that matter to you. We all have different goals. We all have different dreams, paths, beautiful destinations and wants, needs, and desires. Is list out what those are and just do something a little bit every day to move you one step closer to that goal and just sign up for the long-term journey. And I'm really enjoying that. And a lot of the things that I've gotten from 75 Hard and Andy Frisell, I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart, you MF CEO, brother man, is it's just given me such ability to just make progress every day and build momentum every day in so many different areas of my life. I feel like I'm getting fit. I feel like I'm building my business. I feel like a good fucking son right now. I FaceTimed my father last night. I feel like a good uncle. I feel like a good dog dad. I spend more one-on-one time with my dog. I feel like I'm a good accountability partner for you and my tribe. I reach out to you guys. I added value to you this morning. I feel like I'm a good coach. I feel like I'm learning funnels every day. I feel like I'm getting better on video. I'm a good, CEO. I'm a good boss. Take care of my employees. I just shot my assistant a voice message, just to tell her how much I appreciated her. And it's really nice just to feel like I'm making progress and not feeling like I'm lacking in an area and all the things that are important to me. And so identify all the things that are important to you. Get a little checklist in place. Maybe that's 8-10 areas. Spend 1 minute. The thing that I found, Terrence, is our journey, out of 24 hours per day, an hour and a half per day of working out, or 10 pages of reading, a gallon of water. That's less than 10% of your day. I mean, we figured out it's about 7%, 6.5 to 7% of your day. So you're telling me that 6.5% of your day, 7% of your day for your fitness? Absolutely. Is that worth it? Yes. Another 10% of your day could be spent on your brand, 10% of your day on your family, maybe in your spirituality. Maybe you're going to spend some time in scripture. I don't know what your goals are. But when you break it down to the simple of, that area should get 30 minutes of dedicated focus from me today. That person should get an hour of dedicated focus. And I've just been looking at that almost like all these checklists and areas in my life, man. So any final thoughts before we break, my man?
No, you got this. You got it.
All right, guys. You guys, a beautiful episode. Terrence, thank you for being on, guys. And get out there, chase your dreams, crush your goals, and live that triumphant life. What did you think? No, that was a jam-packed episode. I hope you really got some value out of that. I really hope Terrence and I shared with you some tips, some strategies, some insights that just add some energy to your life, helps you get one step closer to those goals, those dreams that you have. And I don't know if that's a fitness goal, a health goal, some sort of an income goal, your business as an entrepreneur trying to grow that thing. I don't know what you're working on, but as you can hear from our passion and our hearts, just wanted to add some value to you. And hopefully you really got that out of that episode. So if you did get some value out of today's episode, do me a huge favor. Throw us a like, throw us a love, give us a 5-star review there on iTunes. You saying that you like this episode and like the Triumphant Life podcast is the greatest compliment I could ever get. Share it with a friend. Right now, you probably have a friend that might need to hear something like that. Or you might have somebody that's an entrepreneur that, me and Terrence really help entrepreneurs. And you just heard some insights into that. Maybe just share with them the link and say, I got some stuff out of this. I think you could really enjoy this and learn something from it. And maybe you could just pass that along. And like I said, that's the greatest compliment I could ever get. Now, if you did like this stuff, guys, go friend me and follow me on Instagram. It's at The Triumphant Life. That's where a lot of my heart and my soul goes. You guys can see a day in the life of Nicky T. You can see my stories. You can meet my puppy, Teddy, and see what we've been up to. And you can actually follow my 75 Hard Journey. So again, that's on Instagram at The Triumphant Life. And when you're there, whether you're a friend of mine now or you're just friending me, shoot me a message. Shoot me a message and say, I just listened to the episode 75 Hard Challenge. Let me know what you learned, some takeaways, some pointers, and really things you can implement in your life. And if you do that, if you go take the time to shoot me a message, I have a special gift for you guys. I have an exclusive free report that I wrote about today's episode and that I wrote about my lessons that I've learned really internally as I've been halfway through the 75 Hard journey. And so I have a whole ebook and free report around that where I just kind of unload a lot of principles that I've learned about life, success, business, and really how to break through in certain areas of your life. And so if you want that, go to Instagram. I'm at The Triumphant Life and shoot me a message. Say, hey, I just listened to the 75 Hard episode. Here's a couple things that I learned. And Nick, I'd love to get that free report. I can't wait to get this free guide in your hands. And I really think you can grab some really good stuff out of it. And again, move you one step closer to those goals and those dreams. But I can't thank you guys enough for sticking around, listening to today's episode. But never forget when you're out there, take what we just taught and implement into your life. I really hope the insights, the lessons, the strategies that we shared can help you just move you one step closer to your goals and your dreams. And that's really why I do this, why I share so much stuff on my podcast, on Instagram, why I do so many videos. It's just meant to help you. Guys, I set a goal when the year started. It was just simple, help as many people as I possibly could. And I really hope today's episode did that. And moving forward, once you hit end on this episode, never forget you can reinvent yourself right away. You can have it all, and you have greatness inside of you. So put that goal in place, that beautiful destination, make a public commitment as we just talked about, and back that up with action. You have that greatness in you. I believe in you. Keep chasing your dreams. Bye.